that anti-inflammatory medication that the big old calf got a couple of days ago yesterday, it must have really worked. He got it 2 days ago, and it must have really worked because he ran over here. I ain't seen him run like that ever, and he just ran right over here. I got him on some feed. I bought some total mixed ration, what was it, a department store that's by the sale barn that I go to had a sale on this feed, and so I bought this feed. It's a complete feed from a Purina called Beef Builder, and I bought some of it, and I put these animals on it. Every once in a while I like to give these animals a total mixed ration. I like to give them a complete feed because when you're doing stuff like putting together rations for the animal, if you don't understand what you're doing to a very, very, very fine degree, it's easy to mess it up. And so every once in a while I like to just give them a complete ration. Every once in a while I like to give them something that's just a complete feed. There are a couple of different labels for it. There's a total mixed ration. There's the complete feed. A lot of people call it a complete feed. There are, but it's a standalone feed. So if you just give the feed to the animal, it'll actually give them everything that they need in terms of their diet. And so every once in a while I like to give them a total mixed ration. Every once in a while I like to give them a complete feed, because I feel like it just helps them with their the whole, I give them distiller grains, right? I give them distiller grains with dolomite lime and some salt in it, and some water in it, and I give them that as a supplement for the grass. But that stuff, I give them that stuff, I mix that stuff up for them, and then I give it to them. And so there's a possibility that maybe I'm messing it up somewhere, and every once in a while I like to just give them a complete feed. Every once in a while I like to just give them a total mixed ration. And so here in a couple of weeks I will be probably selling some cattle. I'll probably sell 2 or 3 at a time, and I will reinvest that money. I'll sell 2 or 3 at a time. Here in about 2 or 3 weeks, I'll also need to herbicide that other field. Today I did go to the sale barn and buy 4 more calves. I bought 4 bulls, and I bought them a little bit light, and I got a pretty good but it all averages out. I bought them at an average weight of about 200, and I paid $1,050 an animal. So with the weather where it is right now, here in about 2 weeks the weather will drop about 20 degrees. It'll drop about 20 degrees. It'll go from being about 95 in the afternoon to being about 75 in the afternoon, and then it'll be about 50 in the evening. And so when it's 75 degrees, if it's 75, 50 degrees outside and it's raining, if you're weaning a bunch of calves, little baby calves, a lot of people don't want to do it. And so here in about 2 weeks, the weather's going to turn it's going to turn cool, and it'll probably start raining here in about 3 weeks or so. And usually during these circumstances, people don't really want the real small little calves. And so I am getting a little bit of a discount. Maybe I'm getting about $150 a head cheaper. I'm getting about a 10% discount on the calves. But sometimes I pay a little bit more, sometimes I pay a little bit less. The long story short is that as long as I'm in the market all the time, and I'm, more or less just doing okay, right? I call it trading the average. As long as I'm trading the average over a long period of time, it's more or less the same difference, okay? It's the commodity market. The commodity market is the commodity market, okay? It's not very difficult to understand the commodity market, right? The one thing that a lot of people understand is gold, right? The commodity market is not difficult to understand. The commodity market is the commodity market, okay? And a lot of these little 200-pound calves and stuff like that, a lot of times, something, maybe the mama cow's too old. Maybe the mama cow died. Maybe the mama cow had twins, and the twins are milking her dry. And so there's a lot of reasons for it, and people will sell when you got thousands, tens of thousands of cattle being sold every single week in a 2-hour circle, when you have 12,000 cattle being sold every week in a 2-hour circle of Dallas, you are going to end up with little calves that end up at the market, and I end up buying those calves. Okay. And so the commodity market is the commodity market. Today I figured I would talk about the idea of using the balance sheet for leverage. And I don't use a lot of leverage, okay? I do not use a lot of leverage. My whole thing about utilizing leverage is, if you think that you need money to make money, that is not correct, okay? Very, very, very often, more money, actually, the fundamental idea, okay, let's not talk about this in terms of guaranteed certainties and etc., etc. Let's talk about it in terms of a fundamental idea. The idea that you need more money to make something work is fundamentally incorrect, okay? That is fundamentally incorrect. If you cannot make money from the get-go, if you cannot make money from the, without debt, adding more money via debt is not going to save your ship, okay? And so my whole thing is, I don't ever leverage myself to the eyeballs. I don't leverage myself to the eyeballs. I'm not interested in knowing the maximum amount of loans that I can take. I'm not interested in that. When I take a look at money, the way that I look at money is that money's a piece of paper. All right, if money is not good or bad, it's a piece of paper. It doesn't do anything. Okay, my whole thing about about money is that it doesn't do anything. Okay, and unless you're looking to do something very big, unless you are looking to implement some kind of a major project, there's no real reason to have a large sum of money. Because when it comes down to it, when you take a look at my life, the only thing that the money really did for me was increase the size of my business. All right, that's it. I mean, I will be buying myself a better house simply because, I figure, well, the thing about a house is that if I have a house on a piece of land, I can use that land to make me money. All right, and that house is equitable. It's not a good asset, but it is equitable. And if it comes down to it, I can take a loan against my house and use the money. But here's the thing, and this is what I mean by I'm not going to be leveraged. I don't ever leverage myself to the eyeballs. And here's a very easy way to look at it. Here's what I got going on right now. Let's say that I end up with, let's say that, very soon, let's say January of next year, February next year. Let's say that I end up with $200,000 worth of cattle. And I end up with $250,000 worth of equity in my land. And I end up with $50,000 cash. And also I'm making $50,000 a month, okay? So that's what my balance sheet is, okay? I got $200,000 worth of equity in my cattle. I have $250,000 worth of equity in my land. And I have $50,000 cash. And I'm also making myself $50,000 of cash on a monthly basis. So if I go to the bank, right? And I say, hey, banker, give me a loan for a $1 million piece of land. I'm looking to take a loan for $1 million. And the banker says, why are you going to take a loan for $1 million? And I'm going to tell him, because I'm looking to buy this piece of land. It's 100 acres, and I'm looking to buy this piece of land. And when I buy this piece of land, I'll run more cattle on it. And so the banker says, okay, well, that's not a bad idea. Do you have any collateral? So I show them that I have cattle, and I show them that I have land, and I show them that I am making money, right? I'm not a bum, right? I'm not going on some magical journey. I'm not throwing a Hail Mary into the middle of nowhere, nothing like that, right? And so the banker says, okay, the whole thing about having a good asset and having a stable returns is you can't and I've said that you can't be YOLOing weekly option contracts and call that a good investment. You cannot be YOLOing Bitcoin and call that a good investment, okay? You can't be a stripper and call that a return on capital. Okay, you cannot be a stripper and say that you have a significant, or you have good cash flow. All right, you need to have, it needs to be a good asset, and it needs to be a stable return. Okay, like in the, the whole thing about money, and the whole thing about that is that if you have to come to this realization that failure is not the only outcome. The world is endless possibilities. I've always said, don't have your panties in a wad 24/7, right? If your panties are in a wad 24/7 and the only thing that you see in the world is failure, then you're probably, that's a sign that you're a twat, right? You're a net negative. You're a massive pile of problems. You're not doing anything for anybody. I guarantee it, okay? You don't want to be in a situation where that is your life, okay? You can do anything, okay? Find something positive to do. At least try, right? My whole thing is like, and a lot of people, and I talk about this, often too, but a lot of people get the idea of investing into a lot of people get into, thinking about starting a business, like investing into a company. And the whole thing about starting a business is like, it doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter what business you're in, okay? It's probably going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your entire life. All right? It will probably be the hardest thing you've ever done in your entire life. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, okay? There is no such thing as, a magical journey, okay? Life is not a magical journey. Nobody cares about your whatever. I fell out of heaven at 7 and my life's a magical journey. Nobody cares, okay? Starting a, getting into a, running a business is not like investing into a company. Okay, running a business is not like investing money into a company. Two completely different things. A lot of people get into business. A lot of people not even get into business, but a lot of people think like, getting into, starting a business or running a business. A lot of people think that, from what I have seen, a lot of people think that running a business is like investing into a business, and it's not. Investing into a business is a very realistic way to make money as well. And the whole idea about investing into a business is find a company, find a business that you agree with, right? It doesn't, money does not have to be a horrible thing. And you don't need to, you having your panties in a wad 24/7 about everything. I guarantee it, you're not a saint. All right, that's the whole thing, right? Find a company that you agree with. Find a company that you think, oh, this company is ran by some decent people. They're not, this company's ran by some decent people, and they got something that I morally agree with. And when I take a look at their balance sheet, when I take a look at their revenue, the amount of money that they are making is going upwards, right? The amount of money that they are making is going upwards. It's a good company, ran by some decent people, and it's something that I can stand behind, right? It's something that I can morally agree with. Invest into that business, right? And you have to at least try. There are a lot of opportunities to invest into many companies out there. You can find one. It does, if you don't agree with the, one company, then go and find another one. At least try. If you sit there with your panties in a wad and, oh my God, well, I fell out of heaven at 7 and thank God I'm a good person, I guarantee it, you're not a good person. Chances are nobody's a saint. All right, chances are you're not the next Jesus Christ. Chances are you're not. I'm not. All right, let's just be straightforward, honest about it. So you find a decent company, you find a good company, their revenue's going up, you take a look at the future of the company, and this company's being ran by some decent people. And you go, well, this is a decent company, right? They're run by some decent people, and they have a product that I agree with. They have something that, I morally agree with. So let me invest into this business and put your money into that business. Invest into that business, right? Be a part of something good. That's just the big idea, right? That's the moral of the story. Be part of something good, okay? Don't sit there with your panties in a wad 24/7. Oh, I fell out of heaven at 7 and, thank God I'm a good person. I guarantee it, you're not a saint. All right? Nobody cares about your magical journey. If you have your panties in a wad 24/7, you're never gonna do anything for the world. I mean, there's a very real possibility that you're already a net negative. And, and it's not funny, right? It's not a joke. It's not amusing, right? there are a lot of things that can be done, okay? A lot of things that can be done. Find something that you can get behind, find something that you can stand behind, find something that you agree with morally, and invest your money into it. If you find an opportunity to do something good for the world, and you have a way to make, money, but the whole thing is you want to start disconnecting the idea of money and working for it. All right, this is something I talk about all the time. When I say make more money, I've said this. I say this all the time. When I say make more money, I'm not talking about working more hours. Right? I'm talking about utilizing your capital to make a return. Right? Invest into a company that you agree with a good balance sheet. They got some decent management, and their revenue is going up on a yearly basis. You have the long-term outlook of this company looks good, right? Find a company like that and then invest your money into that company, right? If you legitimately have an opportunity to make a substantial sum of money, and you're gonna do something that's morally decent, morally good, right? You can't be in a situation where you're gonna nuke half the planet and say that you're doing something morally good, okay? It's got to be morally good, right? And if you can make money doing it, then go and do it, right? I mean, there are a lot of things that can be done. There are a lot of ways to improve the world, right? As long as you're not sitting there with your panties in a wad and I fell out of heaven at 7 and my life's a magical journey and thank God I'm a good person, and as long as you're not that, okay? Find something that you can get behind, find something that you can agree with, and then get behind it, invest your money into it, okay? And so here in a couple of weeks, I will start liquidating some animals. I will be putting the money back into my business. The amount of equity that I have is going up all the time. And so think about this. Next year, let's say that by January of next year, right? Let's say that by January of next year, I have $200,000 worth of cattle, right? I said I'm going to go and redo my loans at about February, right? I'll be redoing my loans in about February. So let's say it's February, right? And I go to the bank and I have $250,000 worth of equity in my land, and I have $200,000 worth of cattle, and I have $50,000 cash, and I'm making $50,000 a month. So the banker takes a look at my balance sheet and they say, well, what do you want, right? And I tell them, I'm looking for a loan for about $1.5 million to $2.5 million. And they ask me, why are you looking for this money? And I tell them, well, because I'm looking to buy a piece of land. I'm looking to buy about 200 acres for about $1 million to $2 million. And I'm looking to, leverage against my balance sheet. I'm looking to leverage against my cattle for more cattle. And I tell them the whole spiel, right? I got $200,000 worth of cattle, so I'd like you to give me a loan for $160,000. Because if you give me a loan for $160,000, I am collateralizing my own assets for it, so you don't have to worry about it. So they say, well, that's a good deal. And the banker wants to lend money, right? The banker wants to lend money, and because they make money on interest. So they take a look at it, and my business, I may be the only owner of the business, and there may not be like stocks for my business, or there may not be whatever. There may not be physical equity for my business. But I do run a cattle business, which is a stable asset. Right? Cattle are a very stable asset. They're a commodity. They're a commodity asset. They're very stable, and I'm obviously making money. Right? I got $50,000 in the bank, and I'm also making about $50,000 a month. So I may not have stocks for my company. I may not have stocks for my corporation to hold for collateral, but I do have cash flow. And so the banker takes a look at it and says, well, so this guy is looking for a loan for $1 million to $2 million for some land, and he's looking for about $500,000, $250,000 for some cattle, and so I'm taking a look at it, and he's a positive cash flow about $50,000 a month, and he's got a house and a piece of land with $250,000 worth of equity that he has on that property. And he has $200,000 worth of cattle as well. So the banker says, okay, we'll give you the deal. We'll give you the land at 30 years, and we'll give it to you at 7% interest. If I pay 7% interest on $1 million, if I pay 7% interest on $1 million, how much money would I be paying on a monthly basis for that loan, for that $1 million? I'd be paying, how much money would I be paying a year? I would be paying about $70,000 a year, about $6,000 a month, right? 7% of $1 million is 70 grand. If I'm making $50,000 a month, that money is pool number 3. It's a fraction of the actual money that I make. A majority of the money that I make is in pool number 2, right? Even if I was making $45,000, $50,000 a month, right? In pool number 3, I don't want to be utilizing all of it, but even if I used $15,000 of it, I would still be investing $30,000 a month, $35,000 a month of my own money back into my business, and I would have more assets for me to make 40 grand. For me to make, 40 grand, I would be selling 30 animals, right? And if I sell 30 animals, or excuse me, I would not 30, I would be selling, I would be selling 15 animals. For me to make about 40 grand, I would have to sell about 15 steers, right? 20 steers, 17 steers, something like that, okay? At about 850 pounds. I'd be selling about 17 steers, okay? So if I sell 17 steers and I have whatever, and I have, 150 cattle still sitting at home, that 17 steers made me my 45 grand, made me my 40 grand, but I still have my 150 animals at home, right? I still have my 120 animals at home, right? Those 120 animals are going up in value all the time, granted that I am taking care of the animals, right? So the mass majority of my money is actually sitting in pool number 2. And that's also why I am looking to leverage against my cattle herd, right? Because not only would I be reinvesting my money and my profits, I would be leveraging against the unrealized gain of my herd, and I would also be leveraging against my earnings, my profits. So if I sell 15 and I make enough money to buy 30, if I sell 17 and I make enough money to buy 35, and I have 120 cattle at home, those 120 cattle would have gone up in value by about 24 animals worth of money. So for me to leverage against my balance sheet, I would have to buy 24 animals worth, I would have to buy 24 animals, right? And then I would have my whatever, 30, I would have my, $40,000. I would have my $40,000. I could use $7,000 of it to pay the bank for the $1 million loan. That still leaves me with $33,000, right? So I reinvest that $33,000 into my business. That is my money under what circumstance? As long as my equity to debt ratio is at least as long as the debt ratio to my balance sheet is under 80%, I consider all of the money that I make on a monthly basis to be my money. So if I come home with 40 grand, I just think about that 40 grand as entirely my own money. Granted that I am not completely, up to the eyeballs in debt. And I'm not going to be up to the eyeballs in debt. If anything, it's going to be the other way around. I'm going to be up to the eyeballs in equity. And it's also very important to understand that the amount of debt that I have in relation to the equity by February will be under 30%. All right, so I won't just need to, buy the 24. I will be chugging along, okay? I will be pushing this thing along. I don't use a lot of debt. And this is also what I mean by I'm not leveraged to the eyeballs. If I'm selling 17 cattle on a monthly basis and I'm making $40,000 a month and I still have 120 cattle left at home and I have a piece of land that I have a piece of land, right? My preconditioning field, that's also equitable. I can hold that land for collateral. I can hold my cattle for collateral. and then I can show my cash flow to show that I can service the debt. That's the big idea. And even if I take a loan for $2.5 million, I am not going to be up to the eyeballs in debt. I'm not going to be leveraged to the eyeballs. I'm not going to even be close to being leveraged to the eyeballs. And just to put things in perspective, like even right now, even today, if I put $2 million in a hole and I lit that money on fire, it wouldn't even matter. I'm not going to say it's not going to matter. You know, it would not damage my financials. It would not put me in a hard spot. Even if today, right at this moment, if I put $2 million in a hole and I lit that money on fire, it would not put me in a financial hard spot at all. It would not put me in a financially difficult situation at all. Not at all, okay? And so that's the whole thing. And you know, it's like if I have $200,000 worth of cattle and I have $250,000 saved up in my land and I'm making $40,000 a month, and I go to the bank and I say, hey, give me a loan for $500,000 for more cattle, and give me a line of credit, or give me a mortgage for or whatever, give me a loan for a piece of land, for a $2 million piece of land. And I've actually spoken to the banker about getting me a line of credit for to buy cattle, and from my understanding, they told me that they need to recheck my. They told me that they would give me an interest-only loan, granted that I present my financial information for my business on a yearly basis. So they told me that the loan that they would give me for cattle, they would give it to me as interest only, but they would want me to give them my financials for my business on a yearly basis. I would have to show them my financials for my business on a yearly basis, and as long as I did that, they would give me an interest-only loan for my cattle. So yeah, they did tell me that at one point. They called it a I think they called it a revolving line of credit. But they told me that they would give me the loan as long as I presented my financials on a yearly basis. And so I was like, that's cool. And land, they told me that they'd give me a 30 even up to a 40-year land loan. And so they told me that they'd give me a loan for 30 to 40 years on a piece of land. And they told me that there are also a lot of programs to reduce the amount of interest that I pay. They told me that a lot of these banks are telling me that they give me like a 1% dividend, and they give me a 1% loan interest dividend. And they also told me that they got programs to reduce the amount of interest for some land loans. They can actually reduce the interest rate by 1.5% on top of the 1% dividend. So they can actually reduce my rate by about 2.5%. And so they told me about these things, and I will be redoing my loans. Okay, I will be redoing my loans by about February, but that's effectively how it that's about how it looks. If I have $250,000 worth of land, and I have $200,000 worth of cattle, and I'm making $40,000 a month, and I'm looking to buy a piece of land for $1 million, and the bank says, hey, if you give me $200,000, we'll give you the loan. A lot of these banks, if you're looking to buy a piece of land, they will give you 80% if you just give them the 20%. If you put a 20% down payment, the banker actually told me, several of these bankers actually told me that if you just put a 20% down payment, they will effectively clear the loan, almost guaranteed. Granted that you're not like in some horrible financial situation. These bankers actually, several of them told me, if you just put a 20% down payment, we will give you can effectively be guaranteed the loan. You're effectively going to get the loan unless you're in some super bad financial hot water. And so they actually told me that. And so I could just use my land for collateral, use the land for collateral as the down payment, $200,000, whatever. And then I can use my cattle for collateral to get a loan against my cattle. And then, that would put me at $1 million. I can get a loan for $1 million very easily. And, I could get a loan against my cattle, and, that would get me squared away. And all of that would, a loan for $1 million for land, and a loan for whatever, 120 cattle is not going to be a lot of money. It's going to be like maybe $7,000 or $8,000 a month, $6,000, $7,000 a month. And and if I'm making $40,000 a month as pool number 3, I'm making $40,000 a month. If I'm making $30,000 a month in pool number 3, I can just take the $7,000 out of pool number 3, okay? And then and then I could just, and also you have to understand that if I invest my money, that's equity going back, that's my profits going back into my herd, and my herd itself will also be appreciating. So I would be looking to leverage against the unrealized gains, and I would also be looking to leverage against my profits. I'm just saying, the whole thing about money is that money's not an opinion, and I'm not lying about it. I'm not a malicious person. I don't care if you died. I don't want anything from anybody. If I had nothing, I could redo everything in 30 seconds. Trust me, I don't care. I have the money. I don't care. I do very well for myself. Trust me, whatever it is, I'm not a malicious person. I'm not a malicious person. I do very well for myself. I make a boatload of money, and I'm just stating it as a fact. I am about to make a crap ton of money. Legitimate crap ton. I'm serious. Like, I'm not making this up. Even right now, even if I just kind of just worked on what I had and didn't really push myself and just worked with what I got, I would still make enough money to where it doesn't matter. I already make Lambo money. I could buy 5 Lamborghinis right now and it wouldn't matter. I could put $2 million in a hole right now and light that money on fire and it wouldn't even matter. Okay? I do very well for myself. And I am telling you, I'm looking to push this thing, and I am going to make a freaking crap ton of money. I'm serious. I'm not lying about it. I'm not lying about it. I'm not being a moron about it. I'm not being a doofus. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just stating it as a fact. I already make a lot of money. I am going to make a crap ton of money. I'm serious. Next year, here very shortly, I will actually start liquidating cattle here very shortly, reinvesting that money back into my business. By about February, March of next year, I will be making about $30,000-$40,000 a month on a monthly basis, and I will I will have more than 70% of the money in my herd will be my equity. And when I re-leverage and everything, I am telling you, I am going to make a freaking crap ton of money. I'm serious. It's going to be a lot.